What's happening, people? My name's DJ Graish and I'm back again with another Sunday live stream. So if anyone's there, let me know if you can see me, let me know if you can hear me, let me know if it's working well. So as you probably saw in the title, this one's called Can Jungle Be 140 BPM? Just gonna wait for a few people to get connected, wait for some people to join in the chat, and we can start the debate. This track's called Side Quest. If you like the sound of it, there is a tutorial on how I made it, and this one's called Making an Orchestral Drum and Bass Tune. Let me know how the mic's sounding, let me know if I'm loud enough, if you can hear the music. Big up everyone locked in. Big up everyone who's watching this back. And just to let you know, it's usually 8 o'clock Spanish time on a Sunday evening. I go live almost every week. If there is a change in the schedule, I'll put it as a community post on YouTube so you can see that there's going to be a different time or day, but if you don't see any posts, you can just assume it's going to be live every Sunday. Shout out Jenny, and this one's going to be an interesting debate. I think you already know my answer about it, but I'm interested to hear if anyone else has got a different opinion. And I know certain people in the comments do. But what I'm going to do is I'll wait for this tune to finish and then we'll get started. And if you're watching and you're in a different part of the world from me, just let me know where you are. I'm always interested to know where people are locked in from. I'm in Barcelona, and to be honest with you, it has been the rainiest 3 weeks I've ever seen in Barcelona. It's been so wet. There's only been like bits and bobs here and there of like a few hours of dryness and then just raining again. And I'm originally from the northwest of England, so if I'm saying it's rainy here, you can imagine how bad it is. So this one's called Side Quest. If you're interested in learning how I made it, just watch the video, how to make an orchestral drum and bass track. And this one was inspired by a producer called Kino, who makes very orchestral music. Alright, the tune's finishing. Let's get started. Big up E.E. Wilson. He's saying, how do you spell that? So it's K-E-E-N-O. You should check him out. He's amazing. He's got such a orchestral style. Anyway, as you saw in the title, today's video is, can jungle be 140 BPM? So the reason why I'm asking this and what it was all inspired by, if I just close this, is in the comments of one of my videos, which was the thumbnail said it was 140 BPM jungle. This is the comment section here, and you can see one of the first comments was, bit of an oxymoron that, no such thing as 140 jungle. And we had a bit of a back and forth, and he seems like a friendly guy. Big up Tesla Dancer. So he was saying, another guy jumped in and said, jungle is not defined by BPM, mate. And then he says, hey, mate, kinda is. Always exceptions to the rule, but 140 is known as hardcore territory. So he's totally right, you know. Tesla Dancer has a good point. But he ended up saying, very nice tune, it def a jungle track bordering breakbeats with tempo. So, you know, you've probably guessed by now that my opinion of this is that you can have slower jungle. And I wanted to tell you a little bit of a story of my production journey. And in order to tell you, I was thinking of playing some tracks from my Bandcamp. So, a little bit embarrassing, but I'm actually about to play you my first ever tune that I finished, and it is a dubstep track called Bloodsucker. So here it is. So I started producing in 2008, got myself a Windows laptop and a cracked copy of Ableton Live. I was also using Reason back then. And this was like prime time dubstep era. So naturally, I started making some dubstep tunes. And this was my first one. So obviously this is 140 BPM. You can see here it says released December the 1st, 2009. Definitely quite into the wobble bass back then. When I listen to it now, I'm just like, what was I thinking with that snare? Like somebody hitting a Tesco's bag. Somebody slapping a carrier bag. Anyway, so that's where I started, right? And then, obviously, these next few tunes are dubstep. Around this era, 2010, is when I discovered breakbeats and started chopping up breakbeats and adding them to my tunes. And then, by the time I got to the Dinner Breaks EP, this is really what I wanted to show you. So, I saw this video on YouTube that was basically like a record playing in an art gallery, and it just kept showing different shots of this turntable playing this record, and the record had kind of an audio documentary on it where this American guy's going on about the Amen break, and he's talking about how it's been used in gangster rap, it's been used in all these different genres, and then there was this big long section about jungle and how people were chopping up the break and making amazing jungle tracks with it, you know? And that was around the era that I decided to start chopping up the Amen break myself and throwing it into tracks. This one's called Dinner Breaks. Big up E.E. Wilson, big up Seed Spam, thanks for joining again, and big up Jenny Fung. So, around the time that I made this, you know, basically still considered myself a bit of a dubstep producer, but now I'm like, well, I'm making beats at 140 BPM, but they're not really sounding like dubstep anymore. Honestly, they're sounding more like jungle. So naturally, I started to call them 140 BPM jungle. And I managed to connect with a couple of other producers that were making it. And one of them was called Boycott Selector, so big up him, he's from the Netherlands. And also there's a guy called Presser from London. And bit by bit I started to find more people that were making this kind of music. We called it 140 Jungle. And then eventually I started to hear like bigger time producers making it, like Scream had some tracks, there was Clue Kid had some sick tracks, and I actually started to buy their vinyls, and there was a bit of a scene for it. And then there started to be more and more producers, and people started calling it Future Jungle. Now, I never really liked that name for various reasons, and just kind of refused to call it Future Jungle. So then I was in this scene where everyone's calling it one thing and I'm calling it something else, which is always a bit of a problem. It's like, what is this? What's the name of this music that we're all making? Anyway, let me know in the chat if you guys agree with me that jungle can be 140 BPM, or if you think that if you're making music at this tempo, you've got to call it hardcore, you've got to call it breaks, or you've got to call it something else. Alright, let's have another. We'll listen to a couple more from my Bandcamp before we get into the production side of things. So this one's called Clarity featuring Dale. Dale is a Australian singer that I met through my friend Emphasize, who is basically, I was in a rap group with him, and he's a rapper and I was the producer, the engineer and DJ. So this is my tune Clarity featuring Dale. But this is actually the Soundshifter remix, and Soundshifter is another sick producer who at the time was making a lot of 140 BPM jungle. And Soundshifter is in Barcelona. He's another British guy living in Barcelona, and he makes some sick jungle tunes. So if you've never heard of Soundshifter, check him out. Around in the early 2010s, this music was popping off a lot, and I used to, like, every weekend I used to listen to internet radio shows, and there'd be like a whole set of new tunes, you know? Big up Steve fam. I would definitely say it's jungle. And just looking through my Bandcamp, it kind of made me realise that a lot of my music is missing from there, and I really should upload some more. Anyway, that's Clarity. Grace featuring Dale. I love my life today. Repeat after me. I love my life today. I love my life today. Repeat after me. And I'm very fortunate and blessed that Soundshifter remixed it, because he is a sick producer. Anyway, let's get into what we were doing. So, about 2 months ago, I was doing a bit of a 140 jungle tutorial, and this is what we came up with. I'm gonna just stick a limiter on the master because obviously it's quite a lot quieter than what we were just listening to. So I'll just kind of explain what we've got so far. Got 3 different groups: breaks, bass and instruments. Let me just open these up. So as you can hear, it's the Think break and Hot Pants break. We've got this re-space going. Various instruments including the pad. And if anyone's got any questions about any of this stuff, I'm happy to explain it all. And if you want to watch me make this from scratch, there is a live stream from 2 months ago where I literally started with a blank canvas and built all this up live on the stream. So now we're bringing in the Apache break. So what I was thinking we could do today is carry on working on this, and I can take some suggestions from the chat and we can add some extra bits to it, maybe chop up some other breaks, and I do have a vocal sample I'd like to try in it, which you may have seen before as I was diving into Google Chrome to show you that YouTube comment. The video was up, so that's a little bit of a clue of what I want to throw in. So the shaker that you can hear there, you may know it, you may not, but it's basically at the end of the... So I've got a sample which is the Think break, all 4 parts, and then you've got like this bit at the end which is kind of a tambourine, and it sounds like this. Big up Seebs fam, thank you man. I do really appreciate you watching. And I know that these live streams are long and there's quite a lot of them, so it's a lot to get through. But I've also been taking a break really from making content. But I've got one video that's fully edited, ready to upload. I've got another one that I've filmed and ready to edit. In fact, I've got 2 more that are filmed and ready to edit. So I've got kind of a backlog of videos that are all coming soon. But before I upload any more tutorials, there's one more track that I want to put up. So you guys might have noticed that there's like 3 tunes that I've uploaded recently. That's Just Chill, Let's Go and Frozen Solid, and then I just want to upload one more. I was doing the master today and making sure it all sounds good, and that's Airplay, which is already on my Bandcamp, but to be honest with you, I've never been happy with the mixdown and the master, so I decided before I put it on YouTube I'm going to improve it a bit. So anyway, let's get into it. So what I was saying before, there's a vocal sample which I was talking about in the original stream, but I wasn't really sure how to download it while I'm live, and it's this. Ninja Man, real bad man. Now I'm not sure if I should play the whole thing, for copyright reasons, but I know that it's this last bit here that I want to concentrate on. And in fact, it does have the little video window here. So I play it from like here.
Terrorist and Badman are two different things.
And Ninja Man ranks.
I'm just going to like play chunks of it and stop it because I don't want to get this stream flagged for copyright. So she said Ninja Man ranks.
That group.
Dan of all Dan, Dan Corgan. Real bad man.
That's the one. Yeah, big up Tara Bass. I see ya. Big up Roughneck Biz. That's the one. 22 baby mother. Here we go. Look, I'm going to play some more of it.
How many children do you have?
23, 22 baby mother. Real bad man.
So I thought we could have Real Bad Man just before the drop and see how that sounds. So just chop that out. Command and E to sort of edit and chop it. And get rid of that bit and that bit. Is it this one that we want?
Real bad man.
And maybe I could end up time stretching it. But anyway, let's get rid of the little video window. We don't need that now. So this is what we've got here. And it's always good to zoom right in and open it quite large so you can see it. And if you just hold down the control button and then drag sideways, you can go right up to the bit you want. Or just before it. And then if you are in automation mode, just get out of it by pressing A, and that'll reveal the little fades. And what you can do is just put a little fade just there at the beginning, making sure you're not actually chopping off any of the sample, but it's just sort of fading in nicely. And you can hear that she kind of tries to interrupt him just at the end. Alright. So let's put it like just before the drop as it is and see how it sounds. And then I was thinking maybe if it doesn't work, because he is speaking quite fast, what we could do is just make him go dead slow, you know? So maybe like there. So what I'm doing is holding down control, and you see when I hold down control, it allows me to drag it freely and not snap to the grid. And what I've done is I've put that kind of syllable there on the line instead. So it goes like this.
Real bad man.
It's annoying how she goes right as he's finishing, but it is what it is.
Real bad man.
So needless to say, it's sounding dry as hell. So what we could do is put some delay and reverb on it and see how that sounds. There's the delay. We could have some EQ. Get rid of some low end. Maybe a massive reverb. So we've got the normal reverb, or we've got the... Which one's the other one? The hybrid reverb. Put that there. And then I was saying last time that a spring reverb is kind of a dub sound reverb, so that might fit in with it. Obviously 3.5 seconds of decay is quite long, so I usually turn that down a bit. And then the dry wet, put it somewhere around 30 to start with.
Real bad.
And you can hear that the delay is way too much, so turn the dry wet on the delay down.
Real bad man. Real bad man.
Shout out DJ Fully Loaded. So we've got that Real Bad Man. For anyone who's just joined us, it comes from a Ninja Man interview, and he actually says Real Bad Man loads of times in the thing. On the other times he says it in a less intense way. So what I could do is look for another one where he's just saying it normally. But as I was saying, I need to be careful about copyright, so I'm not just going to play the whole clip in one. I'm going to keep starting and stopping it. So What I'll do is I'll just group these effects together. So selecting one of them, holding down shift, selecting the other one, and then command and G. That's grouped them all together, and then I've just got one button that I can use to turn them all on and off. Alright, so I've just pressed the button, turn it off, and have a listen through.
Children in the community goes out and come in safe. A bad man.
I'm going to chop out every time he says bad man.
A bad man.
That one's not really usable.
The community see to it that terrorists does not terrorize the community, rape the little school people them, terrorize the poor people them, rob you when you go to work from Monday till Friday, and the one money you have to come in to take your little people them, then rob you and take it and go to shoot you, kill you. That is a responsibility. Dodos is a bad man. Dodos is a bad man. Dodos is a bad man, real bad man.
All right.
Man, real bad man.
So that's a real bad man that he's saying it kind of in a less intense way.
Zeke's is a real bad man.
How do you know
Adams is a real bad man. Is a real bad man. Is a real bad. Adams is a real.
You know.
Adams is a real bad man.
It's possible that one of these is usable.
Leng is a real bad man.
Leng is a real bad man, apparently.
Bad man, Tone Youth a real bad man. Starkey, Copper, Rag in the whole of we have stand up as a real bad man.
Alright, how about the whole of we...
Have stand up as a real bad...
The whole of we stand up as a real bad man.
All of we have stand up as... All of we have stand up as a real bad man. The people...
Something like that. You know, I can always trim it more after.
People that protect Jamaica from terrorists are real bad man. Are real bad man.
That one could be it.
Are real bad man.
You know?
Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
And Ninja Man?
Terrorists and bad man, two different things.
Ninja Man ranks in that group with all
Dan
of
of
those
all
people.
Dan Corgan. Real bad man.
You know, so I was thinking one of these last ones was pretty good.
Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
That could be used later in the tune.
Are real bad man.
This one's pretty good.
Are real bad man. People that protect Jamaica from terrorists are the whole of we have stand up as a real bad man. The real.
All right, so anyway, we've got a few more samples there to work with, but let's just play the music one more time to get into the flow of things.
Terrorists and bad man are two different things. Are real bad man.
I quite like the more understated one, to be honest. So,
Are real bad man.
as I was saying, it's possible to time stretch it because he says it quite fast. So to do that, just if you want to know, if anyone's unsure of how to do this,
Are real bad man.
what you can do is turn on warping and then literally, maybe Complex Pro, literally grab the end of the clip while holding shift and then drag it like that. And actually when you do, sorry I was wrong, not Complex Pro, if you put it onto texture, that's how you can get it to sound pretty old school like this.
Are real bad man.
Now let's put some of these effects back on and see how that sounds.
Are real bad. Real bad man.
You know, that could sound pretty good.
Real bad man.
There we go. Starting to shape up now.
Real bad man.
Right, I'm going to grab all of this stuff and press Command and X to cut it. And I'm just going to start a new track and put it on there. So it's like
Bad man in the
out of
community.
the way, you know. We're just storing it. And then you can just chuck him in
Bad man.
at the end of 16 bars. You can just put him there as well.
Real bad man.
So I feel like he's coming in a little tiny bit early. Right, what I'm going to do is this track is quite tall. And obviously that helps you to see what's going on, but it doesn't need to be that tall all the time. So perhaps if it's just there.
Real bad man.
It's good to have some variety, so maybe every other 16 bars he could say terrorist and badman are two different things.
Terrorist and bad man are two different things. Terrorist and bad man. Terrorist and bad man are two different things.
Difficult to make it fit though, it's quite a long sample.
Terrorist and bad man are.
Let's turn on warping, drag it out a bit.
Terrorist and bad man are two different things.
So I want to big up everyone in the chat and big up everyone who's not in the chat who's watching, and everyone who's watching this back later on. Thank you for joining. And I was saying last time that my channel, I'm part of the YouTube partnership program now, but you know, you need to get 4,000 hours of watch time before you can monetize the channel. And I'm on like 3,850, so I'm just 150 hours away, which sounds like a lot, but actually it's literally about a week until I will be fully monetized. And you guys know that I'm not doing this for the money because I've already been doing it for a year non-stop, but it will be nice to have some incentive to keep making these videos and streams and everything and get financially recompensated for it. Let's hear how this sounds now.
Real bad man.
Pretty good. You can try the different grain size. So you've got right now it's on 34 grains, and it sounds like this.
Real bad man.
But then you can make it less, and it sounds like this.
Real bad.
Obviously, that's taken it a bit too far. So what this grain size and this texture algorithm is supposed to be kind of emulating is that when people started making this type of music back in the day, they were using hardware samplers which didn't have such high quality time stretching capabilities, right? So they would have this graininess to them. So
real bad man.
Maybe that sounds better actually on 61.
Real bad man.
Thank you, E.E. Wilson. I really appreciate it. It's so rewarding, you know, to get comments where people are saying that they've learned a lot from my video. I even had one guy on Instagram
Real bad man.
He uploaded a reel of his jungle tune and said that here's a tune I learned all the techniques from DJ Grace's YouTube channel, and it was just amazing to see. And I'm sure as I carry on doing it, then there'll be more and more of that kind of thing, you know.
A real bad man. Zeeks is a real bad man. Is a real bad man. The older we have stand up as a real bad man.
Anyway, that's Ninja Man. And another tip for you guys, if you want to get some hyped up Jamaican samples, you should look for sound clashes from the 80s. So you've got people like Ninja Man, all these different guys who basically have this sound clash where they're just sort of yelling down the microphone at each other, trying to prove who's the better DJ. You can get some amazing samples from there. Thank you so much, Seebs fam, I really appreciate it. And by the way, if you guys have any questions for me about what I'm doing here, if you want anything else explaining, or even if you want to suggest and give me some
real bad man,
you know, give me some tips or tell me what you think should be added to this track, I'm all ears. What I think we should do is add another break, because we've got sections where it's the think break and the hot pants break. We do have the Apache coming in at some point, which is this one. But I think we could add some more, so let's get into it. So, as always, my samples are all in this folder called Production. And I do have this one called Jungle Breaks. And in here, I've got most of the classics. Let me just turn up the monitoring. You probably recognize this one from old school, like late 90s drum and bass. Am I turning up the right thing here? Hopefully you can hear it. You might have noticed that within Jungle Breaks there's also a folder called Fav, which is my favourites. So we've already got Hot Pants, we've already got the Think. We could try the Funky Drummer. I usually like to use the Funky Drummer for 140. It sounds a bit, to me it can sound a bit weird when you put it in like a full speed drum and bass track, but let's try it. So let's see, how did I chop up these other ones? It's all done with MIDI, so we'll carry on like that. Yeah, I actually did discover the subgenre called Embers Breaks. And to be honest with you, I still don't really understand what the Embers part means, what it is. But if it's just like 145 BPM jungle, then, you know, I'm all over it. I've never really been like a full-on active member of Dogs on Acid, but I have dabbled from time to time. But people who've watched my stream before will know that I basically learned to produce from going on dubstepforum.com back in the day. And this was like, you know, YouTube tutorials did exist in a certain sense. Like, you had computer music masterclasses and these kind of videos where, you know, it's usually a magazine would go and film like a pro producer in their studio, and you can learn some stuff from them. But you didn't get people like with just their own YouTube channel, just like making tutorials on a weekly basis. That was less of a thing back in 2008. So the best way to learn back then was going on forums, and it's amazing how much you can learn just by going in there, looking at the questions people have asked, and then the way how, you know, the answers that they've had for their questions, you know. And I was saying last time, there was this guy called Mac, who was actually a drum and bass drummer and a professional mastering engineer, and he was like respected within the dubstep forum, and everybody, you know, if he chipped in and gave his advice, then you knew he's talking sense. Anyway, this one's called the Funky Drummer Break. So you can see that it's 2 bars long, or is it 1 bar long? It's 1 bar long. So what we do now is right click on it and go slice to a new MIDI track. It's going to give you these options. Everything's fine. I usually like to leave it on 1/8 of a note, but by the way, you can also, instead of slicing it by 1/8 notes or quarter notes or whatever, you can also do it by warp markers or transients, and this is other ways to do it, and other people like to do it that way. Me personally, I like to leave it on 1/8 note, and I'll show you why in a bit. So let's just press OK, and what happens now is a new MIDI track appears, and on that MIDI track we've got a MIDI clip with the notes going in this sort of step formation. So what I'm going to do now is delete the audio because we don't need it anymore, and I'm just going to solo this new Funky Drummer MIDI track and show you what it looks like, you know. So the first thing I always do is get this loop length and turn that down to nothing, because it's I don't know why you would ever want these slices to loop, but it's not what you want for breaks. So turn it down to nothing, and then what we do is double click the first slice, and it opens it up here, and you can see that each slice is there represented in a little sampler or simpler. So the idea is now to go through them and tidy them all up. So slice 1, you can see it's starting in a pretty appropriate place, and more crucially, it's ending just before the next hit, which is exactly what we want. So let's have a look at the next one. It's starting appropriately, and it's finishing just at the right point. Third one is great. And you might have noticed as I was waffling, I did actually kind of warp this break a little bit before chopping it up, which is why it's not surprising that they are sliced well. This one though, you can see that it's the start point is coming through halfway through this hit, and actually you'd want it somewhere like there. So you just keep going through, tidying them up. Any that are kicks and snares, you want them to be bang on. Any that are like little shuffles, you might want to have a bit more swing in it. And what I say by swing in it, I mean, you notice how I put this start point, instead of putting it right there on the hit, I put it slightly before. And that's going to allow it to be a little bit loose and lazy, you know. So, last one. Put it there. And then let's have a listen to how the Funky Drummer Break sounds now. I'm just going to loop this 1 bar. Now what we want to do is play it with the other breaks. So you can hear that these are making more of a, so like a kick shuffle snare or kick hat snare type pattern, right? So let's go back to the Funky Drummer. We want it to go, we want these, so it does the first 3 slices, and then we want it to repeat them like this. And then maybe just shuffle. So put them 2 to there. And then what does it do on the next bit? So One thing you can do if you want to extend this to a 2-bar MIDI clip, what you can do is highlight the 2 bars, which includes the 1 bar we've already got and then 1 bar of empty space, and then Command and J, and that just extends the clip, and we've got this extra bit here to fill out with our slices. Make sure it's on an 8th note and put your slices in. Let's hear how it sounds just with the standard steps pattern then. By the way, guys, anyone who's joined me, like who wasn't here at the beginning of the stream, we basically had the little debate, or I put the question to you guys if you think that jungle can be 140 BPM, or if you're making this kind of chopped up breakbeat music at 140 BPM, should it be called hardcore? Should it be called breaks? Should it have some other name? Maybe Ember's Breaks? Obviously, that's why the guys on Dogs on Acid called it that, because probably certain people on the forum wouldn't be happy with you calling it jungle, you know? And this is a debate that rages on, but I just thought I'd ask the question today, because as you saw, for the people who weren't here, I don't know if I've still got it open. Yeah, so here on one of my first videos on the channel, there was this guy who said, bit of an oxymoron that, no such thing as 140 jungle. So big up Tesla Dancer. I'm glad he started the debate. So what do you guys think? Anyone who wasn't here, feel free to chime in the chat and let me know what you think. What genre would you call this? I want to show you another thing. When it comes to using slice to MIDI to chop up your breaks, there's this sustain knob here, and I'm going to show you what it does. So you can hear that each note gets shortened, and you can use that as a little effect. So obviously you can automate this sustain control so that at the end of each 16 bars it could just go down to like that and just do a little. Or if you layer in several breaks and it's all getting quite chaotic, then one of the layers could be turned down in sustain. Obviously, if you have it like this, if there's just one break by itself and you have it like this, sounds a bit weird. But if you layer in, like I say, if you layer in several together, then it actually can tidy things up a bit. So how does this sound? Let me just cut out the last little bit with the others. And the idea isn't to have all 3 of these breaks playing at the same time, actually. So the idea is that the funky drummer break is going to come in and replace one of the others 16 bars into the tune as a bit of a variety. So what it could be is we've got Think and Hot Prance to start with here. 16 bars later, one of them disappears. So it could be the Hot Pants break that disappears, and then we're left with Think and Funky Drummer, and it sounds like this. What's going on here? So this could do a... You know, one thing you can do, actually, one genius thing about slice to MIDI is that you can literally just grab the MIDI clip and put it onto a different break, and a lot of the time it works. So if you hold down the Alt key, drag that MIDI clip onto the Funky Drummer break, now listen to it. we can do that with the whole section. Play them together. I want to big up Huggy Beats. I want to big up Richie ZXY. Thanks for joining, guys. So I don't know if you were here before, but basically I brought in Ninja Man. And the main sample was him saying, "Real bad man." But then I thought it was a bit much, so I just got a different Real Bad Man from this clip. Time stretched it, and it sounded like this.
Real bad man.
Dynalix is saying jungle is a vibe, not a BPM. I totally agree. Although I wouldn't say it's limitless, because if you took it all the way down to 80 or 90, then it'd probably sound more like a hip hop tune, you know? But within reason, then obviously I think that 140, even 130, you know? And in fact, a couple of years ago, I put together a set of like 130 BPM jungle. There's another little vocal sample as well where he's talking about terrorists and bad man are two different things. So maybe for this one we're going to have a bit more of a gap, so he's got a bit of room to speak.
Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
And also, wouldn't it be cool if the Amen break was reversed during this one for a bit of variety? So if you don't know, if any of you guys don't know how to reverse a sample, if you go to this, go in, double click the sample, and if you look for these two arrows, one's pointing left, one's pointing right, and just click that, that reverses the sample, and it sounds like this.
Bad man are two different things.
And just to emphasize it, maybe we could change the pitch as well. So perhaps pitch it down, see how it sounds.
Bad man are two different things.
Or repitch.
Bad man are two. Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
Alright, no, it's sounding a bit much.
Bad man are two different.
Maybe the fact that it's obviously it's making it sound messy, so what I could do is just turn it down a bit, because he is speaking, you know. Sometimes also when you reverse something, it's a good idea to try and move it around a bit so that the hits are still on the grid.
Bad man are two different things. Bad man are two different things. Real bad man.
Another thing you can do when you're making jungle is just like throw in a load of other random snares. So what you could do is, for example, if you go to instruments and get the simpler, just put a simpler in there, and then get a break, for example, the Amen. Here we've got a load of different snares to choose from, so let's have a listen. I'll just turn on the MIDI keyboard for a second. So there's one. So I'll just put the markers just around the snare like that. I'm going to turn off this snapping. You know? And then we can basically add a bit of variety by throwing in a load of random snares.
Terrorist and badman are two different things.
What I'm going to do is turn this track down quite a bit because it is supposed to just be some background stuff, you know. Did it. Is it like this? Could just repeat that, you know, it doesn't have to be complex. And I could go did. I don't know, just trying stuff, you know. Sometimes it's all about experimentation. Know what I mean? And then it just repeats that. Something that this is going to be something that's so subtle and in the background that most people who are listening to it aren't even going to think about it or notice it. So listen with the rest of the drums. I'll just put that into the breaks group and solo this. And then you could decide that you wanted to put some reverb on it. You could decide that you prefer to EQ out the low end. Let's try.
Terrorist and badman are two different things.
Maybe I should chuck in him saying 22 baby mother.
The older we have stand up as a real bad man. The older we have stand up as a real bad man.
What I could do is have the first part of this where he's like stand up as a, and then it goes into the time stretch one.
The older we have stand up as the older we up
as a what? As a real bad man. So I'm going to need another channel for that. In fact, okay. All right. Duplicate the channel. What I sometimes like to do is duplicate the channel and then delete that thing from the first channel. And then delete all the others from the second channel. And then what I've done is essentially I've put it on its own track, but we've still got all of these effects and stuff on there.
The older we have stand up as the older we have stand up as a real bad man. The older have stand up stand up as
What I'll do is I'll just time stretch that one a little bit as well. And I think we'll have less effects on the stand up.
stand up as
Actually.
stand up as a real stand up as a real stand up as a real stand up as a real
Kind of need it to fade from one to the other. Let's try a little fade here.
a real bad man. Stand up as a real bad man.
The idea is he's supposed to be insane. Just to add a little bit of variety and making him say stand up as a real bad man on the last one.
Stand up as a stand up stand up as a real bad man.
Alright, getting there.
A real bad man.
I think we're going to need some more instruments and stuff for the breakdown now. Obviously this pad can come back. What break did we have at the beginning? Any questions, comments, suggestions? Thought I had a melodica sample. I think it must be on my old laptop. Anyway, let's go through some instruments and then just like play something on the keyboard. Instrument rack. So before I get into that, Roughneck Biz says, what am I using for the bass? So I've actually got the original Reese bass. So this, what you can see here in the simpler is the Just Want Another Chance Reese original song that the Reese bass came from, where I've just looped the first little bit. And I used the tuner to make sure I've got the sample in perfect tune. And it sounds like this. Wait. And I was listening before on my speakers with subwoofer, and I noticed that this section here was a lot weightier. As in the 808. So I think that the Reese bass could do with like a sub layer. So what we could do now is get a synth and put a sine wave sub underneath the Reese. I'll show you how to do that now. So if we go to instruments, and remind me to do the cello in a bit. So get the wavetable synth. You can do this with any synth that's got a sine wave, so that probably the operator would be a good one to use. But if you go to here and options and computer MIDI keyboard, and I don't know why it's not working, because I must have something soloed. So here's how the wavetable's sounding as is with the stock sound, right? And I don't know if you guys knew this, but when you're using your computer MIDI keyboard, the Z and X key can change the octave. So if you press Z again, one more time, you know, and as each time you press it, we're going to a lower octave. Eventually you'll get to one that's like very suitable for using as a sub bass. Now the wavetable synth, on its basic setting, you've got these different shapes here, including the square wave, sawtooth, triangle wave, and the sine wave. And a sine wave is absolutely ideal for using as a sub bass. So one thing we could do is literally grab these MIDI clips and just holding down Alt, put them onto the sine wave layer. Let's have a listen how this sounds. So I'm just going to Command and J to put that all together into one big long clip, and then open this up, press Command and A to select everything. Then I'm going to press Shift and down. That takes it down one octave. Shift and down again. That takes it down another octave. Let's listen to it now. And looking on the spectrum analyzer, make sure it's in the region that you want it to be in. And now anyone who's listening on their iPhone speaker or whatever, you're probably hearing silence right now. But trust me, we have some very weighty sub bass that's starting at 41 Hertz and it's going up to about 64 Hertz. So that's absolutely ideal. Now, if you do want it to be audible on crap speakers, what you can do is there's a few things you can do. One of them is to just move this wavetable slightly more towards the triangle area. Or you can also put a saturator after the sine wave. It's also a good idea to maybe give it some more attack. Why? Because don't forget that there's going to be a kick that's going to be sort of every time the kick hits is usually right there at the beginning of the note, so that gets it out of the way. Anyway, let's layer this wavetable with the Reese bass now and see if it's fattened up the Reese. So here's the Reese by itself. Alright, and I'm going to add it in. Alright, let me get rid of that triangle thing. We'll try again. Right, here's without. Here's adding it in. think it did. I'll have to check it on the subwoofer later. Let's have a look. So Roughneck Biz is asking me if the respace is in mono. So let's have a look. Basically it is, yeah. So there's a few things you can do about that. If you wanted it to be in stereo and sort of wider, one thing I like to use is the Ozone Stereo Imager. I think I've showed you guys this really briefly at the end of my mixing and mastering tutorial. Now, it's probably a good idea if you are going to start to like stereoize it. Now that we've actually got a layer below it as a sub, then we can kind of high pass this a little bit like this. Maybe not that much, but we don't want any bass in stereo. But if we bring up this imager, you can see here, so this is like a diagram of the stereo field, and you've got left over here, you've got right over here, and when stuff is just going right up in a straight line in the middle, it means it's pretty mono. So what you can do is press this stereoize button, and then you can drag this slider up a bit, and you'll see that the line starts to flare around all over the place. Now obviously you need to be sparing with it and don't take it too far, but let me play it with the sub that I just added. Yeah, so that has completely transformed the sound. Now we've got the mono subwoofer, then we've got the Reese that's like opened up into stereo. So that's a little bit about how to add a sub layer underneath your main bass. So what I'm going to do now is, you may have noticed that in the second part it goes alternating between the 808 and then the Reese. So what I need to do is duplicate this sub, but then chop out the bits where the 808 is, like this. So we're going to get rid of that bit, we're going to get rid of that bit, and so on, you know, and just leave the sub in the places where the Reese is. Yeah. Perhaps that should be one of my next videos. Alright, and then now basically we've just got the same whole thing again. So if I highlight these 32 bars and then just press Command and D, then we've got the sub layer for the third and fourth 16 bar sections. And let's have a listen to the whole thing. We're going to start at the beginning now. Listening out for what needs doing, what needs adding, what needs taken away, what's working, you know. It's always good to sort of just take a step back, have a listen to your tune, maybe go and put the kettle on.
Real bad man.
Well spotted, Dynalix. Actually, wait.
Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
Should that be there or should it be?
Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
Maybe it was better not to have that bit there, so I can let Ninja Man speak.
A real bad man.
Alright, anyway, let's go through it.
real bad man.
Right, so at the end of each section, we've got him saying something apart from that one, so it's kind of standing out. So, but what's it to be? Because it can't just be him saying "real bad man" every time.
Terrorist and bad man are two different things.
Could it be?
Stand up as a real bad man.
Yeah, you could say that. So it goes. Wait. Just to add variety, he says
stand up as a real bad man.
So we've got this amen snare coming in here. I'm undecided.
Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
That should be earlier, maybe. Terrorists and... So it starts there.
Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
And then different thing, yeah, so... Richie's saying I should add the different... I should add some echo to different thing.
Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
Alright, so one thing you can do, let me just show you something. If you've got your delay on return track B, you can automate and send it to that. And if you only want it to repeat once, what you do is you turn the feedback down to nothing. One thing you need to be careful of is to make sure you've not already sent something to that return track though, because then you're messing with what you've already done. So, have I sent anything to return track B yet? Don't think so. Alright, so it's available for me to use for this. I wouldn't have sent any bass to it. Alright, so what you do is, making sure your computer MIDI keyboard is turned off, you press the A key, now you're in automation mode. Then you want to go to your mixer, and then choose B delay. And you can just grab this little pencil tool here, and then turn it up at the bit you want to send to the delay. And then you can press the A key again, press the B key to get out of that pencil mode and then have a little listen.
Bad man are two different things. Bad man are two different things.
I thought he was going to say different thing.
Bad man are two different things.
Alright. Maybe 8 and 8.
Bad man are two different things.
Again, if you want to, you see how it's snapping to the grid, but you might want to do it slightly. There's one syllable there, which is the dit of different thing, and I want it to just be slightly before that. So holding down the command key, or control on Windows, I suppose, you can move the line over without it snapping to any grid. And then you press B to get rid of that pencil tool again.
Bad man are two different things.
And then if you feel like it's kind of the delay is too loud, what you can do is just turn it down a bit. So instead of being all the way up to 0, you put it down to -6. Try it again.
Different thing.
And if you feel like maybe he should repeat it more than, he's only saying different thing. If you feel like you want it to go on a tiny bit more, you can turn this feedback up.
Different thing.
Let's hear it.
Different thing, different thing.
It's better just turn down the feedback. He says it twice and then move on. Wilson's trolling me.
Real bad man.
I'm not putting any more gunshots in any tunes now, that's it. There's a ban. I'm joking. Actually, it would work here. Shout out Jumanji. And Tara Bass saying that I need to add the Batman theme to the bass line.
Stand up as a real bad man.
So I'm thinking like a filtered break here, really subtle in the background. So let's go to the production folder and choose one. Which one should it be? It's all good, E.E. Wilson. So let's have a look, maybe chuck in a break that I've not used yet. Maybe the Sesame Street break. Alright, so let's have a listen to this. Turn it down a bit. Don't forget this is part of the breakdown, so it needs to be kind of quiet and subtle. Actually, I'm not sure if I really want to use this because that little thing at the beginning. You know what I mean? What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the think break from here. In fact, I already did that in the intro. Intro think. No, no, it's here. Alright, so sorry to repeat myself, but I'm just going to use that again. Alright, let's see how the Scorpio's sounding. Jumanji's saying Scorpio would be a good shout, so let's have a listen. Alright, so Ableton's like warped that way too slow. So what I'm going to do is chop it off there. Then I'm going to turn the warping back on. Grab the end of it and hold down the shift button and just put that to 1 bar. And then let's just have a little listen with the metronome to make sure it is 1 bar and it's like all working properly. I was going to put maybe this bit there. Could work. Okay. Let me paste that there. See how it's sounding with the pad and everything. How about it's trying to change the pitch of it?
Real bad man.
+2 sounded pretty good.
Real bad man.
Right, time stretched, so let's see how it sounds doubled. Or halved. What you can do when you put something that long, you can change it to repitch and then hear it. Alright, what we're going to do is go all the way back and just have it like that, I think. Worth a try though. Alright, so the Scorpio break can go in with the intro thing. Right, and I've got this little hidden gem up my sleeve called Jethro DJ Effects. I'm going to put that onto the Scorpio break as well. And let's see if it actually copied the automation as well. Yeah, so it's got the same fade to grey effect on. Jumanji, I guess you were not here at the beginning, but the sample that I've got of Ninja Man is exactly that. As you can see, I've put it to the texture algorithm, grain size 61, and he's sounding like this.
Real bad man.
So I've just gone for the 90s time stretch. Shout out Cardi, nice one for tuning in. Cardi, do you think that jungle can be 140 BPM? The general consensus here is yes. It's
Stand up as a real bad man.
it can be 140, but in my opinion, probably you wouldn't really want to go any slower than 130 with it. Oh yeah, so I was on about making a cello, and one thing I could do is bring in the cello in the breakdown here, so it's like you didn't hear it for the first almost 3 minutes, and then it's like something else new comes in. Yeah, I was going to mention that, Jumanji. So I've seen quite a few jungle documentaries, and you got people like Fabio and Groove Rider and that, and they're all saying like the first tune that they heard where they really kind of decided that this is going to be a new genre now is Lenny D. Ice, We Are IE, and it's really slow. I'd say it's probably quite a bit slower than 140. It starts off as like a house tune, and then when it drops, it's got the breaks. And it's a sick tune, and it basically birthed an entire genre. Right, so we need a little gap there. Let me just loop this first part of the cello so I can keep working on it. Maybe that top note should be down here. Let me go back to orchestral. That's so sick. Double bass, solo, staccato. So with certain instruments in here, like there's a range you can't. If you play the notes up here, there's nothing there. You get down here, and there's obviously a lower limit as well. You can't play anything down there. That's the lowest note. C0. How fat is that? So I just like grabbed that because I don't know if it'll necessarily even fit in with the tune. That could go later on with layered with an 808. Imagine that. In fact, let's just quickly do something. Let me get the 808 layer, hold down Alt and put that there. I'm just going to delete all the MIDI clips. And I'm going to duplicate this MIDI clip there and hear that. I just want to hear how this double bass sounds layered with the 808. Cardi's saying make the double bass as low as possible until it gets filthy. So this could be the second drop. Out of nowhere, you've got filthy double bass coming in. But for now, let's just have a listen from the beginning. Let me know where you're listening from. I'm in Barcelona. I was saying before, it's been the wettest, rainiest 3 weeks on record in Barcelona. And I can't wait for the weather to get better, and I can't wait for the clocks to change. I think this time next week the clocks are going to change and everything's going to change. It's going to be springtime. So in my opinion, the way how this delay builds up is pretty cool, but it's a bit much.
Real bad man.
Let's try it again. I want the delay to build up less. Shout out the North Idaho crew. Norwich. Jumanji's saying there's a tune by Smiley Max with an 808 and a double bass. And it's the deepest sub he's ever heard. Anyway, what I did there is, so you see the delay and it's got the dry and wet. I was trying to make it less. It builds up, but I want it to do it less. Big up the Louisville crew.
Bad man.
Gava, Barcelona. We've got Louisville, Kentucky. Always interesting to hear where you guys are listening from.
Stand up as a real bad man.
Shout out Tara Bass from the rainy Netherlands. I feel like it's raining in a lot of places right now.
Terrorist and bad man are two different things.
So I feel like he says terrorist. I'm nitpicking now, but I feel like he says it a tiny bit late. So what I could do is just bring that back a bit and then put it on the line and see if it sounds any better.
Terrorist and bad man are two different things.
Yeah. Roughneck Biz. I'm directly in the middle of Barcelona. I don't know if you've ever been here before, but my nearest metro stop is Parallel.
Real bad man.
It's a cool place. Maybe the A could be further down as well. So Tara Bass is saying the first it is on the first beat.
Terrorist and bad man stand up as a real bad man.
Which it? Oh, sorry, is. The first is on the first beat.
Terrorist and bad man are two different things.
He's saying terrorist though. Terrorists and bad man are two different things. Anyway, Cardi was saying dark effects on the cello. So what could we put on it? Dark could be like putting some overdrive or distortion on it. Put it through a guitar amplifier, see how that sounds. Know what I mean? Maybe it should have an EQ to take out some of the top end though. And then I don't know what else to suggest. How can I make it sound dark? Stick everything on it. Dynamic tube. Yeah, Dynalix says Barcelona's one of his favourite European cities. Gaudi was amazing. So yeah, there's definitely some unique looking buildings here. It's a nice place to be. I just can't wait for the weather to improve because, you know, it's alright having a week of rain. It's alright, maybe 2 weeks. But when it gets to like the 3-week mark, you're just like, come on, man. Another weekend of just rain. And I was supposed to go up to my brother's house today and we kind of cancelled it, and then it started raining really heavily, and I'm kind of glad that I never planned to leave the house. Alright, so halfway through this, actually, we could have some distorted cello.
Real bad man.
Know what I mean? Anyway, everything has to go into groups, so we've got Ninja Man ×2, and I usually like to have a vocal group, so I'm just going to click both of those, press Command and G, and then Command and R to rename the group vocal. And then we've got this cello, which I'm going to put into the instruments group. Technically, the double bass should be in the bass group, so I'll put that into there. I like to just organise a bit, and also, sorry, but if everything's blue and then we've just got one orange group, then that's going to have to be blue as well. Which blue is it? I know it doesn't really matter, but... Anyway, anyone who watches my channel, watches my vids and stuff, I want to show you something. Check this out. This is just a little sneak preview of what's coming up on my channel. Don't know if you can see this, but basically, I bought a copy of the first ever Ableton Live on CD-ROM.
Real bad man.
So watch out for a video of me installing it on an old school laptop from the 2000s and exploring it and attempting to use it. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Loads of tutorials coming soon. I do these live streams every week, and I've also got some other fun kinds of videos coming soon, like the retro Ableton Live review and some others that I'm not going to tell you about. But make sure you subscribe to the channel because they're all coming out within the next couple of weeks.
Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
Let's have a listen to some of these pads. I love that chord Pacific, but it's not going to work with this tune. Let's try complex amp pad. I think we're going to need to crank this down a bit. So it's always worth experimenting with the different octaves. So it might sound good there, or if you hold shift and press down, it might sound better here. Let's have a listen. So then you can like experiment with like, because I quite like it, but there's a lot of buzziness going on. Like it sounds like a swarm of bees. So you might find that it sounds better like that if you get rid of the swarm at the top. So we already had a pad. In this section, what was there? Hang on. If I get rid of that, what was there before?
Real bad man.
Right, so all there was basically just drums and bass in this part, so that's why it was perfect for me to add the alien pad.
Stand up as a real bad man.
And I'm just going to remove it from the last bar, so when he's talking, it's not like getting in his way.
Stand up. Stand up as a real bad man.
Yeah, it's a good shout to add the Scorpio break. Just adds a little bit of variety on that second breakdown. heavy. I might be distorting things. Alright, what we'll do is we'll move that back. We'll move back that and we can have this section here. Oops. Alright, so it goes like this.
Stand up as a real bad man.
Let me know what you think of the 808 and double bass as it comes in. Might be a bit much.
Real bad man.
It's quite minimalist, so what about if it's got this alien pad with it? Missing the little amen break fill from there. One more time. Nice one, Cardi. That was your contribution to the tune. Double bass, 808 layered together. And I remember when you said that we should record didgeridoo bass. I'm still up for it. Get some didgeridoo, layer it with some synth bass and make it super
Terrorist
fun.
and bad man are two different things.
So Tara bass saying maybe it's a bit loud. Which one do you mean? Is it the double bass or the 808 or both? Maybe it's just the double bass that's too loud.
Stand up as a real bad man.
Love that. The Scorpio break sounds good. Actually, I think I'm going to ditch the cello from here. And just let it come in a bit later.
bad man.
Tara bass actually meant the alien pad was a bit too loud, so just crank that down a little bit. So we're getting there now. I just want to chuck in Ninja Man in the second drop. So let me put him here. That's the first bit. And then we need him talking about terrorism here. Oops, probably shouldn't say that on the stream. Probably going to get demonetized now.
Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
Cyber flute. Right, sounding like the wavetable ones are a bit more cyber. So, Cardi, the question is, what do you prefer? Noise of Art flute or Air Flute Magnus? And that goes to everyone in the chat. What do you prefer? Air Flute Magnus. Both sounding kind of cyber. I'd say Air Flute Magnus probably fits. Anyway, I'm going to have to go in a sec, but I'll just add some cyber flute before we go. Magnus, Air Flute Magnus, that's the one. So, Air Flute, everyone's saying the same. Big up Null Mage. I don't think I've seen you here before, so thanks for joining.
Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that little melody that keeps coming back. That one there. Alright, so straight away it's sounding too loud. Gen P, Air Flute. Literally 5 people all said the same flute, so I think it's clearly the winner. Wait, sorry. I don't know, let me put it back down and see. And we can also try different velocities.
Real bad man.
No, E.E. Wilson's telling me, I swear, last time there was some comments about it being carnival vibes as well. Why do I always make a clown melody? Right, I'm going to go in a sec, but I want to just try this with some delay on it that maybe will make it a bit better. I wasn't going for a carnival sideshow or anything like that. I was going for more of like a dark, sad kind of sound. How about that? Yeah, a killer clown maybe. But listen to that now, it's like totally transformed it, and maybe for the better. Anyway, I'm just going to EQ out some of the low end of it, and then let's just play the whole track, and then I'm going to bounce. Alright. So these are the kind of things you can come up with if you're just messing about, putting in some notes, sticking some delay on it, you know. And you could come up with something good, you could come up with something that you're not really that into, but it's worth a try, isn't it? I just I've definitely made like carnival clown music that I did like. Quite like the cello with a load of distortion on it.
Real bad man.
I think Ninja Man worked really well, and I was pleasantly surprised, but, you know, it wasn't even the main sample. Like, you know, there was the real bad man, the one that he says at the end. Never ended up using that, but this one's pretty sick.
Stand up as a real bad man.
As for the extra amen snares that I added, well, I'm not 100% convinced about them. I'll just turn them down a bit and bury them in the mix.
Service and Badman are two different things. Badman.
So this is the first time you hear the alien pad. And don't forget, when it comes to the mix down, you would do a load of panning.
Stand up as a real bad man.
So maybe certain instruments would be panned left or right. You can also use this thing called the auto pan. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this before, but that's like an effect that like automatically pans the thing from left to right to left to right. Pretty useful for making a bit more stereo width of your tune. If you've not already, please click the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel and come back next Sunday evening because I'll be doing this all over again.
Bad man.
I've got another topic. I'm not going to let you know what it is now. But I've got another topic of conversation that I could bring up based on a comment that I got recently. And I'm loving the double bass.
Stand up as a real bad man.
Although, to be honest with you, on the other ones I cut out the bass when he's talking, so let's do that.
Stand up as a real bad man.
Let's do it here as well. On a previous stream, someone was asking me, is this tune going to be released or is it just for the tutorial? And my reply was,
Terrorists and Badman are two different things.
And my reply was basically like, depends on how it turns out. If it's a good tune, it might be released. This one in particular, I think is pretty good. With a bit of work, it could end up being released.
Real bad man.
Anyway, I want to say thank you to everybody who's joined in the chat. Thank you to everyone who didn't get involved in the chat, who's just been watching silently. Thank you to everyone who's watching this back at a later date. If you want to see more tutorials like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel.
Stand up as a real bad man.
And I'll see you